Hey guys, Neptune here, and today I'm going to show you how to use a Patchbay. Now there's kind of a little bit that goes with learning how to use a Patchbay, so I think I'm going to split this into two videos. First video is going to be just how Patchbay works, what you use it for, the different types of patches there are, and the second video I'm going to show you exactly how I have mine set up and how I patch things and common patches that you will make. So to start out, what a patch bay is it is a source and a destination of all of your hardware equipment. So everything that you own, preamps, compressors, interfaces, monitors, everything is being plugged into the back of your patch bay, and then you have access to all of the outputs and inputs on the front. So instead of having to reach around and get behind things and keep unplugging and plugging things in, you have front access to all of that, and with just patch cable you can get to places and from places much easier. So the first thing you want to know about patch bays is that each of the two that go down the row like this are pairs. So here's number one, that's a pair, number two, that's a pair, so on all the way down. They all have relationships to each other. The next thing you want to know is that the top row of every patch bay is always an output, and the bottom row is always an input. You can change subtly how they work together, but the top row is always going to be an output, and the bottom is always going to be an input. And this is where it gets slightly confusing, so bear with me. There are three different ways you can orientate your pairs. There's normal, half normal, and through. And here's what each of them do. So if you have a normal pair, like number one we'll say is normal, the output of whatever I have plugged into the back is fed to the input of whatever I have in the back. So I'll show you in the next video. I'll go through how I have mine set up, but all you need to know for now is that this output feeds this input. So if something's plugged into here, it's arriving here. Now when I patch out in the output on the top row, when I patch out, I have the signal feeding this output on the end of my patch cord that I can now patch to the input of other patch points. But the path of the output to the input is now broken, so no signal is arriving on the input here. That's normal. The path is broken. Now let's say number two here is half normal. So this output is still feeding an input, and I plug a patch out of it. I have the signal in my patch cord, but the path is not broken. The signal from here is still reaching this input on a half normal pair. The final type is through, and that's where you have your hardware plugged in, like your compressors and EQs. If your top is an output and your bottom is an input, but it's on a compressor, you don't want your output feeding the input of this same device. That would just cause feedback. So there's no connection from the output to the input or vice versa on a through connection. So this way you can patch out from where your microphone is to the input of a preamp and back, and it won't cause feedback. So there's every patch bay is going to be different on how you can change those, but everyone will give you the option to change between those three types of pairs. The simplest type of patch bay will have switches, either on the front like this or up on the top, and you can set the switch to normal, half normal, or through, or whatever the manufacturer calls them. There's different names, but they all do the same thing. In a more professional studio, they'll actually have to solder together the pairs themselves to create what kind of a patch they want. And it also uses, these are quarter-inch connections. The professional studios use tiny telephone, which is a lot smaller, so the economy of the patch bay is smaller. In the case of this patch bay, each pair actually pops out. And so, let's say that it starts out like this, and by patching things in, you figure out that is normal and you want it half normal. You simply take it out, flip it around, and now it is a half normal point or whatever. Usually there's a diagram that will show you exactly which direction you put it, how it works. No soldering involved. Yeah, so that's how patch bays work. When I get to the next video, I'll walk you through how mine is set up and how I like to patch things. See you then.